All right, what is up? Happy Friday, everybody. What a week. But the show, as they say, must go on. I am, of course, Midnight Hatter, and I got my dates a little mixed up, actually. I thought that today was actually next week, and so I have something exciting next week, but this week is going to be fun too, because we're going to be looking at some game dev stuff. And you get to see some of the projects that I'm working on behind the scenes when I'm not doing Gundam 5e stuff. I hope that my audio is doing well this week. Very good. It's a shame that I have to check every week, to make sure that my audio isn't going all Robo Satan. So anyway, I hope you guys have had a good week. Um, you know, and you're kicking the weekend off right. I appreciate you if you are joining me for this little adventure. I'm going to be playing with some new toys here that I picked up as a result of a bundle that I saw advertised in another video on Odyssey. And if anyone's interested in it, there's 10 days still left to get the bundle. For the price of one Unity asset, you get like 40. And this one in particular that I'm going to be playing with this evening is very exciting. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and hop right into what I'm going to be playing with. So, the main the main asset that I wanted out of this bundle was this tile world generator from who was the creator on this again? Door 44. So Door 44, thank you for creating such a fantastic tool. Now if I can just get it to work. Um, Actually, you see that my console's clear, so I must have gotten rid of the compiler errors that I was having just a moment ago, and you're probably hearing my dog go absolutely crazy right now. It must mean my wife is home. Uh, so, yeah, like I said, well, I'm going to show you what this asset is capable of doing, and then from there, I will show you what I'm trying to use it for and what we're going to be doing. So we're going to go ahead and hit play here. And once it pulls up, I will pop into the large screen mode. Let's go ahead and hit set some of these parameters. This is the runtime build generator that this tool is capable of doing, and it's just fascinating to watch, so that's why I want to share it with you. There you go. Random dungeon created, and we can even populate it with objects. Coop, what are you doing? What are you doing, budda? These two are going absolutely nuts. And it's, completely random and tileable. Oh, still thinking about it. Then let's hit build again. So you can get different configurations. You can even do, different builds entirely. Like, say you wanted to create a maze. Something like that. Um, Cellular, which is more designed for like island formations. It even comes with several different presets. So this is that sort of island generation, which doesn't make a lot of sense for the dungeon. But if we were to say hop into Cliff Island, it generates a little seascape for us. One of the ones that I will be playing with primarily in this live stream is the sci-fi setup. This looks okay, but I prefer the dungeon build for this. Or maybe, I don't know. I don't like that it's not sealed around the edges. But again, this is just their example. That looks like a game of Minesweeper. Um, so yeah, this is just their example of real-time generation, but what I am trying to do is use this for procedural level generation. Now, one of the steps that I've already achieved, if we hop into this scene that I've created, as you can see, I used like the sci-fi preset that it comes with, and Oh, what's up, Pyro? Thanks for joining. I hope you got a chance to see some of the neat little tile generations. This is not a Gundam related project, but I might actually use some of these assets for Gundam as well, because I think it might be cool to actually, procedurally generate the battlefield and then work from there. So the first thing that I had to worry about was and this is where this script actually is currently working, is I want to build the nav mesh at runtime. My AI relies on having a baked nav mesh, which normally you would have to do manually in the scene editor view. You'd have to come in here and hit bake, and then it would generate your... Actually, here, I'll go ahead and show you exactly what I'm talking about. So, as you can see, you have this map, right? We're going to bake a nav mesh on top of it. Probably going to take a second. Maybe? No, okay, I got to select it first, then bake it. Thinking about it. Oh, you know what? So that was part of... I commented out this script that I was using to actually make all of these game objects static at runtime as well. Because if an object is not static, then you can't bake a nav mesh on it. So there you go. All that blue is all of the space that my AIs can travel on. Now, let's go ahead and clear that out. Go back into the inspector. I'm going to uncheck static because it doesn't matter anymore with this new script that I'm using nav mesh components. So what I can do, and what I'm going to do, is we're going to go ahead and hit play. And then at runtime, well, the game camera's pretty lame. So at runtime, you can see that if we select our TWC world and we go to navigation, it should have a nav mesh baked onto it. Yes, that is correct. The nav mesh is how it does its pathfinding by determining what is a wall and what isn't, things like that. So yeah, it appears to be working. Let me see here. Because I am calling this function, right? That'd be embarrassing. No, I'm not. That's why it wasn't working. So we actually have to snag that nav mesh and put it into this slot. Why are you not going in there? Actually, no. If the nav mesh is not baked correctly, it will walk straight through walls. And in fact, there are some settings as far as nav meshes go where you can actually enable certain nav mesh agents to walk through walls. Don't know why you'd want to, but I mean the option's there, which is kind of cool. Well, this is interesting because hey Andrew, yeah, nav mesh is pretty obnoxious, but we got to do what we got to do to make this work. Indeed, that would be pretty cool. Actually, it'd be pretty terrifying. Um, hmm. So why are you not working, nav mesh generator? Let's just go ahead and remove that component, and then we are going to add it onto here. And then we can drop. It doesn't want to go in there. But why? Maybe I need to re-enable this this for loop that I had created. So what this for loop does is it just goes through whatever object you put in the nav mesh surface field and it takes all of the children and converts them to static. So, oh yeah, see, there we go. Nav mesh generator not set to a reference of an object. So it was not finding my nav mesh surface. What's strange is that this was working before. Getting the size right to not work through things never seem to work. Nav mesh layers let you have units that can adhere to, say, the ground but not the walls. Yeah, one of the limiting features of Unity is nav mesh. Yes, exactly. But I did you can actually generate nav meshes on walls and ceilings. I just watched a tutorial video on how to do that, and that's kind of where I got this idea from. Because he created a 3D environment where you could point to various spots on the inside of a cube, and your agent would follow to that point from the ground up to the walls and the ceiling and stuff. My issue seems to be that it doesn't want to take my nav mesh surface anymore. I mean, I could change it from a nav mesh surface to a game object, but then it's probably going to tell me that you cannot implicitly convert a game object into a nav mesh surface. Yep, game object does not contain a definition for build nav mesh. But I'm willing to bet that now that it's a game object, I can... No. What the heck is going on? I swear that this was working before I started. I know most of those words mean individually. Well, that puts you that puts you way ahead compared to me, because I absolutely do not know what I'm doing. And the reason I'm calling both awake and start in this nav mesh generation function is because if awake gets called before start, I want to have my level generator work first and then generate the nav mesh. So then I don't know why it does not want anything in there. Does it need to be static first? I'm an idiot. But we already knew that. Streamer's curse, lad. Second you hit that start stream button, laws of physics change. Yes, they do. So what we are going to do is we actually need to write a script that is going to add, because the problem is we need to add nav mesh surface, the script, to our TWC world, and then it goes in. So what we need to do is create something that's going to add that for us. And the reason being is because once we hop into, so this is that tile world generator. I still don't have the pages to learn how to code. Well, you better, you better hashtag learn to code. Global illumination processing is running, and it's like making my computer heat up, and it's probably going to explode. So here is the rub, is that once we call, and this is where, you know, this is where we can generate levels before runtime. So this is before we like hop into the game. You can generate a new map, build, and then merge it. And that is, so the first step is generating the random, your random noise, and then build actually applies your template pieces to the map, and then merge actually takes chunks of the map and merges those meshes together to optimize performance, so that you're not working with massive objects. So the problem is when you generate a new and build it, as you can see, it scrapped our old object TWC world. So what we actually need to do is we are going to come in here and say, instead of serialized field, we're going to just go ahead and make this private, and we're going to call it, or well, not private, but you know what I mean. We're going to call it a game object because we're going to call a spade. And what we are doing is we are looking for our TWC world. So let's just go ahead and call it that. TWC world. And at the start, oh, and then we also want our nav mesh surface. And we are going to call that surface. So we've instantiated our variables here. So at start, we are going to say that our TWC world, I saw WCW in there and I was like, wrestling? Let's not make any typos, as I am prone to doing. We're going to set that equal to game object dot find. We're going to find our this is going to be obnoxious. I'm going to warn you for this stream because the underscore key on this keyboard does not work. So I have to copy and paste anything that's got an underscore in it, which, you know, it's going to stop me from making as many stupid typos. But the flip side of that is that it takes longer to do everything. Anyway, so what we want to do is, you know what? I don't know. It just came that way. So this is something that I don't know how to do, and of course I'm going to run and Google it. So what we're gonna do is, and I should probably start commenting some of this stuff so that I know what I'm doing here. So we are going to find newly generated TWC world game object. Then we are going to add nav mesh surface. Yeah, the nav mesh surface. Nav mesh surface component to that. And then once we've done that, we can actually set our surface. And this is what we'll do is we'll say surface equal to whatever. Well, I guess we can just say, after that, it should be fine to say TWC world because it will actually have that component on it. But we will see. Sorry about that. Is the object going to be made before runtime in the editor? It is not. Everything is going to be done at runtime. Uh-oh. Disconnected wire. Is my audio sounds good, right? Uh-oh. Well, it's okay. Whew. Maybe the YouTube stream is screwy, which it is you know. That's what I get for calling out YouTube on Twitter. But welcome to the chat, Zen. So unfortunately, it looks like the add component method is obsolete. So I don't know Another way to do that. Oh yeah, sorry, on the keyboard. I mean, it could be. It is an old used keyboard, so another way to do this might be to prefab the piece that will be the builder. That can be added to the script in the editor and the mesh components that you want. Yes, I think that the tile world creator is a prefab itself. So the problem is that it's going to create that object TWC world and the TWC world objects to populate. But those are the things that I want to turn into nav, or that I want to apply the nav meshes to. Since those are the in-game objects, the tile world creator is just a generator. So we go TWC world, and we can try adding component. Ooh. The question is, what are we trying to add to it? So we just need to add that nav mesh surface script to it. Hopefully this is going to work. And then I am going to still go ahead and run not the surface, but I will run the TWC world transform. I'm going to go ahead and make those objects static using this little for loop. Take a look and see if we got any compilation errors here. I suspect that there's something I did wrong because, let's face it, it's me. Oh, this project's these can be automatically updated. Let's just do it for these files. Maybe it's going to update to whatever. So that's nice, even though I used a deprecated. But I am using Unity Engine AI. Yeah, that was the one that I found was from 2017, and it proved rather unhelpful. Well, let's see. Let's script to one time. So maybe it's because it's got this AI in it. We can see if this works. Interesting. Oh, so there we go. What if we do this? We're actually going to do all of this at once. We're going to say surface equals and add the component in one go. since that's what we need to get for the for it to work. Let's see if that does anything for us. Typer namespace AI cannot be found, which is funny because here it is using Unity Engine AI. Well, if I can't get this to work, then I might move on to one of the other minor projects that I was working on with this. And it'd be cool to kind of show off what I've got so far because, I'm sure that this is not exactly fun to watch me trying to troubleshoot this issue. So let's go ahead and for the sake of toggle block comment here, for the sake of making sure that our compiler works. This is my jam. I'm looking through my D&D map folder for a session on Monday, and there's a photo of a funky Kong. Well, Kong is funky, so. And I was hashtag Team Kong. I don't care what you Godzilliacs say. So let me hop back into and the reason I'm doing this is I really want to incorporate this procedural level generation not only into the game in some form, but it's also going to make testing the game much more fun for me because I've gotten, numb to playing in the test level that I've created. So let me pull up my sample scene here and we will see what I have built. This is me basically cobbling together a couple of free assets that I've been working with, along with a couple of tutorials that I've been doing, and basically mashing things together until they fit. I haven't even created a prefab out of my player object yet because team wrong. Yeah, I haven't even created a prefab out of my player object or my enemy yet because I'm still adding tons and tons of stuff to them. I am creating I'm working on an inventory script, which basically the inventory is going to be a container that is going to hold all of the possible items that the player can hold, and then just booleans and integers that say like how many of that object they have or whether or not they have that object, and it's going to allow them to do different things. But what I have put together so far is obviously I've got a guard that can patrol. So I've been using like an RPG tutorial. It's one of those awful Udemy ones that that I got the AI script from. I made some tweaks to it because their AI is completely radius based. So if you are within the enemy's radius, you will be detected. I have changed it so that it is line of sight based. So they have a modifiable line of sight. I wonder why you can't see my gizmos. Because thought I had my gizmos on. Because you should be able to see all of his different radii. But yeah, he's got, all sorts of different variables that you can tweak so that you can make your enemies unique. So yeah, let's hop in and I'll show you what I've been working with. Don't have hundreds of items. I don't plan to, but we'll see. So as you can see, it instantiates the weapon in his hand. He's going to patrol those patrol points until he detects the player, which doesn't look like he can see us. I instantiated my own weapon, which is like a little small arms fire, and then of course I can, I can fire bullets. That's a terrible animation for it though. I definitely need to change that up. I did not build this character controller. I've just been adding features to it. What? You're fine. Um, Sorry, that was Mrs. Hatter sneaking around looking for something. Um, where did I put that? Well, anyway, hopping back into our controller here. You know, he can jump. I think I left. No, he doesn't have a crouch ability currently. I gave him a crouch ability, but there were some issues with the animation that were not working. You can see the inside of his skull, which is kind of cool. I don't know what that glitch was. Um, the character controller actually came with a sprint function, which is pretty sweet, as well as the aim animation state oh, aim animation layer. Um, and of course you can kind of strafe using that animation layer. Like I said, the firing animation, that's a new one. The gun fires so hard that the recoil blows his hair off. um, Another sweet little option is the fly mode. Now, obviously, I'm not going to allow the player to fly normally. Yeah, well, there will be a fly mechanic in it, but it's going to drain mana. What was the other? I don't remember the controls that I gave to this. Where am I? Input manager here. Teleport. There it is. Oh, see, I don't know why I'm trying to use keyboard inputs. I actually made this game so that it can be playable using controllers. So yeah, there's our aim mechanic. We can fire. We have our melee combo attack. Um, oh, I didn't know that I could toggle aim using. That's interesting. I'll have to figure something out with that because that was not supposed to happen. But yes, I also made a teleport feature. No audio in the game yet, though. That's pretty low on my priorities list. First, I need to get it to not break. So yeah, I've got a lot of fun features. The enemy AI has um, yes, he uses his hair as ammo. The enemy AI has a lot of different states, such as like a suspicion state, as well as after he's alerted, he will, search the area and try to find your last known location. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going. What I do want to add to my player control script is, you might have noticed that in the fly mode, you can only go like forward or back, left, right. Controlling your orientation is done completely at the whim of your camera. So I want to add a simple altitude control. I figure since you can't use the jump button anyway while you're in midair, why not use the jump and crouch buttons to control your altitude. So, oh yeah, see, there's my crouch behavior. So we're just gonna add a is that not correct? Is it one word? Oh, no, I'm an idiot. See, I'm getting things backwards. I told you I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, see, I have some good ideas. No, see, it should have a space in it. I don't know why it's still marking it like that. Anyway, we'll see if there's a compiler error. Hey, take it easy, Pyro. Thanks for popping in. Oh, I suppose it's because I didn't have a secondary condition here. So, let's say the animator get bool. Hmm. So here's where it's tricky because I don't think I want to use the grounded. I don't think I want to use grounded as the boolean that I'm searching for. I want to. I've got my fly behavior in here, so I could get whether or not he's flying from there, or I could get it from the animator, which I think I'm going to do. Oh, that's the enemy here. Yeah, as you can see, this is a very complicated animator for my player character, but it's because I have so many things that I want him to do. You know, they got our melee combo, our ranged attack, all that good stuff. So if I go into my parameters, yes, it looks like fly is a boolean. So I'm gonna get that, and if he is flying and we hit the crouch button, we don't want to crouch, we want to descend. Yeah, it started out much more organized, but then, I just went crazy with it. Um, so it should be as simple as having the player translate downward on the z-axis, right? Let's see. Like I said, one of the joys of not knowing what you're doing is you end up looking everything up. All right, so let's see here. Do we get the player object at any point? I'm pretty sure we do. We have to, right? Otherwise, we might as well just say transform, translate, and we will go vector3 down. And we'll say times time dot. Oh, that's no problem. Delta time. Thank God for autocomplete because the typos would be absolutely next level. Yeah, and then of course like Unity just uses standard words like forward, backward, down, up. So that's always nice. So if we just translate it down, time delta time, I'm going to divide it by 2 because 1 unit per second would be pretty fast, I imagine. Um let's see if there are any compiler errors from that. Look at that. I might have done something right. What? All right. So I haven't created the up function yet. I need to see if down works because if down works then oh, controller. Oh, you know what? It only so because that. Mm, oh, wait, what happened there? That was really strange. Teleport works, fly works. Oh, okay. So it like only ticks him down a little bit. We need to make it so it's if you hold it down. So let's go ahead and just take this whole chunk out. Because what we're really gonna do, um, if in fly mode, sneak button descends. And so we'll say if input dot so it's not get button down. Is fly and hover two states? No, there's only one state for the fly mode. It's but there's an animation controller that causes him to tilt when you actually apply any X and Y directions. Um so what I don't remember is how to get if because get button down is a singular press versus I think it's just get button or get input or something like that. Yeah. Oh, see, I had my chat closed. Input get button. Yeah, get button down is the single fire. Um, say sneak, and then we actually can probably input this part, the little C animator, as part of that if statement instead of having a nested if statement in there. We can just say if you're holding the sneak button down and you're in fly mode, translate vector3 down by time delta time divided by, well, let's just go ahead and make it time delta time. And if he goes down fast, he goes down fast. All right, let's hop into it, see what we've got here. We can fly and we can descend. That's awesome. And actually, it's not that fast. Maybe I should multiply it by 2 because yeah, let's see if multiplying it by 2 is not too fast. Yeah, see, I'm of course breaking valuable rules by making them magic numbers that can never be set. So I think what to your point, I'm gonna go ahead and make that into a variable, and we're gonna call that we'll call it altitude speed because then we can use it for both. So our base stats yeah, we'll go ahead and put it in base stats because why not? Now, I do have a separate script that I'm storing other player stats in, and I don't know if I'm gonna end up calling these mana points, or whether I'm going to call them something else. But like the other RPG stats, RPG stats are going to be held in another container, just because I didn't want to clutter up my player control script with stats. All right. So, and then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and say if in fly mode. Again, sorry I'm being anal about commenting things, but I don't want to go back and delete something if you know what, I could probably just copy this entire chunk and so I believe in my input manager, I do have the jump button called jump. Do I not? Fire 1, fire 2. Yes. Jump is there and it's joystick button 1. Cool. Probably not a good idea to have like these specific strings for input names, but you know, what are you gonna do? So this is one of the features that I wanted to add was of course altitude controls, and we should have them in place now. All right, so we can fly, we can ascend. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. So fly, ascend, and then descend is the sneak button. I have to say though, so my sneak button is to click the right thumbstick, and my jump button is the X button, and that does not feel very intuitive. I'm gonna be honest with you. So I'm gonna do a little troubleshooting on the fly. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I said I was not going to do, which is nest an if statement inside of another if statement. I'm going to not use the sneak button, and what I'm going to do is if you're holding jump and down, you descend. If you're holding jump and up, you will ascend. Um so if you're holding the jump button and you are in fly mode, we're going to say if. Now, this one is going to be a get axis, I believe, since it is since it's going to be moving. Left, right on the horizontal, and vertical up, down. So, mouse and keyboard, would that be like control and space? I actually haven't put a whole lot of thought into the keyboard controls yet. For one thing, I have my fire button is P just because I didn't want to mix it up with another fire button. I do need to optimize my keyboard controls because that is not going to work. The left shift is reserved for sprint, space bar is jump, but I think I need to utilize Q and E a little bit more. So we're going to say input, get axis. Uh, vertical dot up. I think I'm doing this correct. And we will copy that because I don't want to put an else in this. It probably would help though if I put some curly brackets on it so that it closes it up. I know that this is probably the ugliest code you've ever seen. Two. Yeah. See, I knew it. I knew I was doing something wrong. So let's go. Oh, see, I'm an idiot. What I can do is instead of doing this whole if this, if that nonsense, I can just multiply this whole thing times the get axis. Let's get rid of these curly braces. Thinking about it. All right, moment of truth. We can fly. Oh, see, it's not going to work because I'm already using the get axis. Shoot. He like ascends and descends when you hit up and down, which is not what we wanted. Um Dang, the idea of using the jump button was such a good idea. Man, I need to do something about my character's collider cuz he should be able to run up those ramps. Okay. So, jump button is out. What if we use that sneak button instead? All right. Hopping into it. We'll go big screen here. Enter fly mode. Oh, what the heck? Yeah, we didn't want to do that. Enter fly mode. That's not going to work either because you're still going to up and down is always going to be up and down. Unless I alter the fly behavior so that he doesn't actually move when you're holding the when you're holding that button. Shoot. Um Interesting. So it looks like my previous solution is going to have to be the one that we use. Is jump will ascend. Honestly, for now, I'm okay with that because if you really want to descend, why would you not just stop flying? I should eventually get a descend option in there, but for the moment, I think that should be okay. Now, that handgun animation is pretty stupid, but that's why we can equip different weapons. So, in this case, I'm going to go into my weapon prefabs, and we're going to equip our bow and arrow. Just because I want to show off the bow and arrow, it's a little cooler than the handgun at the moment. Just because I actually have some animations built into it, and we have our aim function. And let's face it, those projectiles are way cooler looking than the little weird bullet that I have. Now I haven't created the. Well, I should be clear. I have created the method that will allow the player and the let's escape. See, that was that suspicion. I was in with suspicion range, but I wasn't in alert phase range. So he's over there searching the area uh in case he can find me. See, and for some reason, the arrows actually do when they hit colliders, they are supposed to when the arrows hit colliders, they're supposed to disappear. Um which they do. You can see where it flicks on there for a second. The handgun rounds for some reason do not, which is funny. See, and then I can toggle my see. I don't know why the sneak button is toggling the aim mode. That's not good. Um. Oh, okay. I see what the problem is. Is that there's multiple inputs there that are using it. Cool. So yeah, like I said, much more excited about the bow and arrow than I am about the handgun at the moment. Of course, I have a whole arsenal of weapons that I need to create still. Now, while we are in the weapons, we should go ahead and equip the melee weapon. So before I wanted to make sure that the weapons would work the way I had them set up. So I set it up um so that whenever you start the game, it's just going to automatically equip the weapon that you have equipped in your ranged weapon hand. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to create some holstered spots for the weapon and attach them to the player transform, and then that way you are only going to equip the weapon when you hit the attack button. And then I have a timer built in that after a certain number of seconds, if you have not attacked, let me see. Yeah, if time since last melee attack and time since last range attack is less or is greater than 30 seconds, whatever your weapon is in hand is going to get put away. So, we hop back into that combat script. What we are going to do is instead of equipping our ranged weapon on spawn, what we are going to do is we're going to spawn the weapons. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying to make something cool out of this. But as I mentioned before, I do not know what I'm doing. Um so before So as you can see, I've got my two functions for melee attack and ranged attack, and what I'm going to do, hey, what's going on? What I'm going to do is actually set up a little if statement at the beginning of it, where if, because I already have a Boolean for if current weapon is not equal to our currently equipped ranged weapon, then what we are going to do there is actually equip our ranged weapon. And so we should call the equip ranged weapon function, which will eventually it's going to trigger the animation that we want. One of the things that I need to comment that in there. So it will create the animator override. So it'll start, he'll act like he's holding that weapon instead of, looking like, you don't want to have him look like he's holding a sword when he's holding a gun, right? So one of the things I'm going to comment in here is that we do want to play the equip weapon animation. Oh yeah, thank you, ma'am. And again, I want to make sure that it looks like if he's got a sword on his hip, it's gonna spawn on his hip, and then when you actually go to do something is when it'll play the animation of him pulling it out. It'll switch everything over. It's a very yeah. Oh, you know what? I was doing this the wrong way anyway because I have it calling the ranged weapon in the melee function. So I'm glad I caught that. Let's do the same thing down here in the ranged weapon. If you see, I even did it again, like an idiot. So we'll equip our melee weapon. So if it's not a melee weapon, it'll equip the melee weapon. If it's not the ranged weapon, it will equip the ranged weapon. Although one of the things we need to do is create that put away function because if he's already holding a weapon, he's going to need to put it away first. But we'll we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So we need to create, I think I already have, so I have some animations built into each weapon so that specifically, like if it's a gun and it's holstered on the hip, he has a animation for pulling from the hip, and then if it's the bow that is going to be holstered on the back, he will play an animation of pulling it from the back. This has to be stored on the weapon object and not just on the character because it's going to vary from weapon to weapon. So the thing that we need to create, we need to set a variable. We're going to call it, well, it's going to be a serialized field, and it's going to be a transform. Do we need to make it a serialized field? Or can we just... No, you know what? I think it should be on the combat script and not on the weapon script. What we are going to do is have our... There's actually going to be a lot of these. So a left holster transform. A right holster transform. And we'll make one that's for the back as well. I may not need to do all of this. We'll see. Because, yeah, we don't need to have all three. We can just have a holster transform, and then on the weapon, that location is going to vary. So we are going to spawn. Hmm. Well, it's like we don't want to play the animation for holstering at the start of the game. So um, we'll call it holstered melee weapon. And holstered range weapon. We'll create two new methods for these. We will put them above, well, let's put them above the actual attacks. On unequipped weapons at runtime. Hey, what's going on, Scorp? Thanks for joining. So we're going to have our holstered melee weapon. And let's just go ahead and copy that little slice there. Holstered ranged weapon. Hey, I appreciate you stopping by, watching me struggle through all of this coding. Which I suppose I can I blow this up for you guys to actually see what I'm doing? Look at that, I can do. How big do you guys want it? For the record, this is like massive on my screen. So in the weapon, what we need to do is create well, do I create a whole nother thing, or should I just call this spawn weapon instead of spawn melee weapon? I think I'm just going to call it spawn weapon. Hey, I appreciate you working on that. Advance of Zeta is well over my head when it comes to that content. Let me tell you, that is some difficult stuff. Difficult stuff to handle because they're so unique. Those particular mobile suits. So what we should do. So this is no longer instantiate weapon at runtime. This is equip weapon on command, I suppose we should say. Down here is where we are going to instantiate weapon at runtime. What we are going to do is we're going to have a public void almost considering just making the individual pieces of the TR line as features and calling it a day. Yeah, the mods and I on Discord had a long discussion about the best way to handle variant style mobile suits because as you know, when I created Gundam 5e, the mobile suit selection was pretty scant. And there, the first questions I got were, well, are you going to have the high mobility Zaku? Are you going to have the Zaku cannon? Are you going to have the Zaku flipper? Are you going to have the, you know, all of the different Zaku variants? And I was like, I would rather those be equipment that you can customize your Zaku with and then just have the base model. That way we don't have to stat everything out. And then also, it takes away those customization options because as a customization option, you have the shoulder cannon. So like if you have a Zaku cannon, why would you have the shoulder cannon as an upgrade? And so it's like, well, do you disincentivize people from taking the upgrade and instead just going with the regular model? At what point do you start playing theater of the mind and saying like, yes, I made my Zaku cannon by taking a Zaku and putting a cannon on it. Um, so yeah, Scorp did all the legwork on that for sure. Um, so we're going to say holster weapons. No, you know what? We have to do this individually because I am going to want to call this function for each one individually from time to time. For instance, if I am equipping my melee weapon and I already have the ranged weapon out, I want to be able to holster the melee weapon or vice versa. You know what I meant. Anyway, um, so right now I have a boolean that's like is southpaw. So that determines whether the weapon spawns in your right hand or left hand when you equip it. Perhaps I need to have a second boolean that instead of determining which hand the weapon is, we'll say boolean um hip equip. And that will determine whether the weapon is stored on the back or on the hip. There you go. Working with a few gargantuan MS and the ability to launch other. Oh, that is an interesting feature. And honestly, that should be part of the big rank, if we're going to be honest. So let's copy this slice here because basically this is all going to be the same because we're going to instantiate the weapon prefab, but we're going to do it wherever that holster transform is. Came up with the anti-beam cloak today and some. Oh yeah, yeah. The big rang has to have the Uggos. The Uggos. So, how do we restore our animator controller to the default one? Because we don't want it to be the animation set that's equipped to the weapon anymore. We want it to be whatever was the default one. And this can't be for just the player because this applies to enemies as well. I suppose in the combat script I can say create an animator. And we will say that it is, we'll call it char animator. Nope, wrong one. And then at start, before we instantiate our weapons, we are going to say char animator equals get component animator. Well, I suppose I can copy it from down here. Oh, well, there we go. We can say M animator because that doesn't change, right? Yeah. See, I don't need to create all this. I'm creating more work for myself. 6 Ashimar. Yeah, see, that's one of the things that is funny about Advance of Zeta is you get the same people that will whine and cry about Gundam Thunderbolt being too advanced for the 1 Year War. It can't be canon because it's too advanced for the 1 Year War. It's like, well, but it also, like, you know, Advance of Zeta is way more advanced than Zeta, and it supposedly came before the Hazel, the Queenly. Anyway, rage over. So what we will do here is we will say melee weapon, holster melee weapon. Oh, so see, maybe I don't need to have. Yeah. So see, I'm an idiot. I have so many things running in my head because we can call this from uh both of our weapons. Oh, this is the player script. I need to be on the weapon script. Move that over there so that we're side by side. I mean, it is like, see, I have a much more it's not as nuanced. I basically say everything's canon. It's fine, guys. It's all canon except G Reco. Um, so we holster our weapon. So if the runtime animation controller is set to the animation set, maybe I should set it back to M animator. We'll see if that and we shouldn't even actually bother with that if statement, to be honest, because whether or not that weapon has oh, no worries. You don't have to apologize if you miss anything. Mostly experimental shoots with interchangeable parts. So effectively, you could make a penultimate TR mobile suit. Yeah, well, and that's why there's so many kits coming out, right? You've got like, well, I'm sure they're all in the manga as well. I didn't finish reading all of it, but it's like, you know, Hazel 6 Woundwort 7 like combo mobile suit. um so we don't need the grip transform stuff. Oh, you know what? We actually probably do. But that stuff is not stored in here, correct? Yeah, right grip and left grip are part of combat, not weapon. Correct. See, now I'm all confused. I've got my mind thinking of both Gundam and coding at the same time. It's not a good scene. All right. Well, we do want to be able to call the holster weapon function for our ranged weapon as well. Just need to figure out what variable to pass through here. Which I guess is just going to be our holster transform. Nope. And we're probably going to want to have our animator pass through it as well, since since we are going to change the animation set. Miss C sharp. Well, I am one of the things I suppose you might have saw it earlier. I'm trying to work on a way. I found a sweet little Unity plugin that allows you to use a Google Drive as your project folder. So, you know, as long as you keep the project under 15 gigs, that's a lot better than using like Dropbox or I mean, yeah, you could be an adult and actually use some source control like you've been trying to get me to do. I know, but you know, it's been working for me using OneDrive for my day job. I use OneDrive, you know, because they have Microsoft OneDrive. I use that as at where I store all of my files that I end up linking in my graphics. Um, Holster transform. We're going to set our animator controller to mAnimator, which I think is going to be good. So we need to pass in our transform, which is going to be holster, right? Did I just name it holster? No, I named it holster transform. Maybe I should just call it holster because I've got a holster transform in here and a holster transform in there. Not good. Let's call it holster in here and holster transform over there. And we will ask for an animator, which is mAnimator. I don't think that this matters because we're not really, well, okay, so we do want to say if it's hip equip, then our holster is going to equal OD does its own versioning and Git hates it. Thanks for making the text for all people. Yeah. I was like, I just realized that I'm capturing the entire screen instead of just capturing windows, so it's actually very difficult to see. Um, Now the question is, because we've got right grip and left grip are stored in combat, correct? No, I've got right grip transform and left grip transform in there. So where did I even make these variables from? um, we'll call it holster transform, I guess. And if not, we will say it is, what would you call a back-mounted weapon? We'll just call it back-mounted transform. I am going to have to create that location. Back-mounted transform. And I think I'm going to have to actually pass both of those through. There we go. Save that up. And we're going to go here and say transform, back-mounted transform, add a comma, a dorsal weapon. That's a good one. All right, let's see just how many compilation errors we are going to get. The name M animator does not exist in the current context. Yep. Yep. That's at line. That's in combat, actually. It's because they are called within other functions. And for some reason, when I did this, it would not allow me to just make it a cross your fingers. Yeah, you and me both. For some reason, when I did this before, I tried to just set the animator variable, up at the top, and then I made start a public void start and got the animator. For some reason, it didn't work. I literally have to physically call the animator in each function that I need to use the animator in. So this will get rid of that error. And then in weapon, cannot implicitly convert type. It's because I'm trying to convert the runtime animator from an animator controller to an animator override controller. I know, I know. I was, like I said, I was trying to do it once, but for some reason it just would not work for me. And I can show it to you later. It'll say like, "Oh, you can't get that." Um so how do I reset my runtime animator controller to the one that is the default for the character? There's no argument given that corresponds to the formal parameter. Well, for now, we can strip that part out, and we will strip out this part because it seems to be not working. And that's okay. What we are going to do is now our combat script. Oh, holster weapon takes 3 arguments. It shouldn't. Oh, yeah, I'm like, so there should be holster transform, back mounted transform in both of these functions. Now it should be fixed. Now, the tricky part is going to be finding out in my armature here where I'm going to actually equip these, where I'm going to set these transforms to be. There we go. Well, that would play an animation, but I need to change the override controller back to the original animation controller, animator controller. Um, so spine 2 might be the way to go for the back mounted transform. And perhaps right leg looks like a good spot for us to spawn a holstered weapon in. We're gonna find out. So currently we are equipped with the sword and the bow. Those should probably both be well, let's say this is hip equip, which actually I think I have it backwards in the actual weapon script. Now that I think about it. Yeah. So we'll have the sword on his hip and we will have the bow on his back. Let's see if this works. In theory, it should spawn a sword on his hip, a bow on his back. It sort of worked. um okay. So, this is okay. This is actually a good thing. Because what we're going to do is we are going to create some containers for these weapons and we're going to apply transforms to them so that when the weapons spawn, they spawn in the correct orientation and spot. Oh my goodness, this is driving me nuts. Okay. This is fine. Exactly. So currently, I have the back-mounted weapon, like the back-mounted holster is spine 2. What I want to do is create an empty inside of it, and we're going to call it, back holster or something like that. And what we're going to do with that is move our stinger bow inside of it. I don't know if I can do this at runtime. Yeah, shoot, I can't do that at runtime. So we're going to create an empty inside of this spine object, and we're going to call it back holster. I just don't know what you call like a back holster. What do you call weapons that you store on your back? That's the one thing I refuse to Google during this. And let's go ahead and we'll add the holster on the left. That way, he can pull a sword from the left, he can pull a gun from the left, he can pull whatever from the left. So we'll create an empty inside of it, and we will call that hip holster. And now for the object here, we're going to like actually put the holster transform in here instead of right leg, and we will put the back holster in for the back mounted transform. Small of the back refers to a holster carried in the small of your back near your spine. Okay. So like I don't know, call it over the shoulder. I don't know. Shoulder holster. There you go. Rides under the armpit of the wearer's weak side. Yeah, that makes sense actually. Since you'd use your strong hand to remove it. Let's see. So we've done that. Now we need to go into our actual play state. Gunner's Alley. That's pretty cool. That is a sweet sounding site. And what we're going to do is with the hip holster, we will move it and rotate it to accommodate what our weapon looks like. It doesn't look like we need to rotate the x-axis. What about y? 90? Nope. Maybe negative 90. Then we can kind of sling it down and position it on his actual hip. And again, the idea, of course, being that I'm applying these transforms to this parent of the spawned weapon. So that I'm not affecting what's going to happen when it's spawned in the hand. Ideally. Oh man, this is driving me crazy where I can't like see what I'm doing. Well, let's do the back now. Bring that back a little bit. Spin it around, not on this axis. We will say on the x-axis. No, not quite. Well, actually, we can do like a negative or positive 15. There we go. Kind of get it turn around there. And then rotate on the z-axis. Or Z, whatever you prefer. It looks like propaganda. The only thing that I think is going to be an issue with this is that if you have two hip holstered weapons, they're both going to be on the left hand side, so that's kind of lame. So I suppose I do need to make a third transform option for right mounted weapons, but you know, one thing at a time. We have to actually get this script to work first. Does the position on that look good? No, it doesn't. We need to rotate him this way and then maybe back that way a bit. We want it to like just touch his shoulder there. Let's unpause it and see what those look like. Awesome. Although I don't know how I feel about the hip holster being attached to the leg because that's causing the sword to move when he runs. So I think I might attach it to the hip itself. So in the meantime, what I need to do is, since we are at runtime, none of this stuff is going to save. I'm going to copy the component of that transform, stop the game, and apply those values here. And then we are going to take our hip holster and attach it to the actual hips instead of the left leg, and hopefully that will keep it from swinging around. So now we have to go back into play, reposition it, and copy those component values over. So we take our hip holster. Well, that's kind of weird. I don't know where these values came from. And deposit. Oh, here we go. So let's that. That down a bit. Rotate this like -90. That's probably too far. There we go. Position it here. Slide that over a bit. And that is looking a lot better. But as you can see, since I pasted those component values on the bow is in the right place, which is awesome. Now we're going to copy this component, exit the game, and paste those values into the actual hip holster. And so now when I start the game, my weapons will spawn in the correct holstered locations. Hopefully. Yes, there we go. Now, of course, the downside is because I don't have a way of destroying those items, what happens is now you see that I spawned my sword from and then of course if I were to I've just got mad equipment. Wait, did he throw a grenade at me? Okay. Yeah, well, so as you can see, he plays some kind of bash animation, which is that I need to fix. I'm sure it has something to do with the weapon. The weapon doesn't have the firing animation attached to it yet. So as you can see, things are coming along quite nicely. So what we need to do is now that we know we can spawn those weapons on the hip and on the back, we need to create a little function that's going to destroy those items when they are spawned in other places. So let's create a we probably don't need to create a whole nother script just for unequipping. Well, yeah, we do because like I said, because we want to play the animation for them unequipping, and then also call that function that that holsters them. So let's say if current weapon equals ranged weapon, which it should be. Yeah, I know. Because it's either that or I use the system that I use the system from that other game template that I was working with where all of the weapons are equipped at once, and all the script does is go through and enable or disable them. Um, which I can't imagine is much more friendly than yeah, it can't be much more friendly than instantiate and destroy. Um, Although maybe that is the answer. On off is pretty small. So then maybe that's the way I ought to be going with it. Because I can always, like, technically I could instantiate these I can instantiate all of the weapons and then just disable the all the items at the start puts the time of creation before the game update. Hmm. So then we could equip our ranged weapon and then immediately set it to inactive. Um, I need to get that instance though. Um, so let's see if I need to get an instance of the melee weapon that I just spawned. Let's go ahead and call it a game object. Uh, M weapon. We'll set it equal to that melee weapon that we spawn. And we'll do the same thing with you think so? Interesting. So, unfortunately, the weapons themselves are scriptable objects. The weapon prefab is actually stored within the weapon scriptable object. But I'm glad you're thinking of optimization because I clearly am not. At this point, I'm just happy that that I've gotten the holstered weapons to work. So we do want to say anim.play. Oh, well, see, and again, this is that obnoxious thing about calling all these Git components. Here we go. Before I sign off for the evening, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to create that variable that I talked about. So we're going to say animator m animator. We're going to set it equal to null at first, but we'll go into our start function here. And we're just going to call that get component once. And I'm going to show you that it, like, for some reason, it just doesn't work. All right. So find animator. We're just going to say mAnimator equals get component. So that's that. Now I'm going to go through and delete out that call from all of our functions that I always use function and method interchangeably, like a scrub. Um, See, and so like I could probably replace these with mAnimator because it's all the same animator. Set trigger. Set trigger. That's all about getting rid of all of those getters, right? Except for the one at the very beginning. Hey Octo. Working on a little RPG that I've been noodling around with. So let's check a look at the console and we're gonna see. I'm gonna prove to you. Oh, hey, thanks for the follow, Octo. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Okay, everything looks good except for one thing. 65, 12, and 14. What is that? Line 65. Oh, yeah. It's because I started that if statement for when I was going to destroy the melee weapon if the ranged weapon was equipped. Okay. So that should be good. We might actually be in business. Awesome. Okay. So all of our animation, everything's still good. Let's run and see what happens. So it doesn't change the animator from the beginning. Oh, I actually accidentally called the spawn melee weapon. Oh, suppose I can use the controller here. So our aim mechanic, when we don't have a weapon equipped, or at least we shouldn't have a weapon equipped. I don't know why. Oh, well, it's because I called that method in there. So yeah, the animator is not changing over, unfortunately. That's chill. I'm a QA tester for a local indie company, so hey, well, I'm probably getting ready to sign off here in a moment, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna be working on this, and that's awesome. I guess technically I am an indie company, but it's just me, and I don't know what I'm doing, so. Some of these errors are actually expected. Some of them are expected because when I don't have a ranged weapon equipped, the animation is supposed to play like picking up a rock and throwing it. Well, I haven't created that rock projectile object yet. So every time I try to throw a rock, it's saying I can't find the rock that you want me to throw. So that's not surprising to me at all. Um yeah, we've got our animation controller in there, so that should be working. It does not have a projectile, does not have a muzzle because it's not a ranged weapon. Let's look at the bow and arrow object here. Missing its muzzle. Oh, I have a script that calls the muzzle at runtime, so that's fine. Animation set is in there, so that's all working just fine. Yeah, so for some reason, let's get rid of the equip weapon here because I think that was part of what messed us up there. But yeah, hopping back into it. Should be good to go now. Now, theoretically, when I go to use the melee weapon, it should equip the melee weapon, which it does. And it did change the animator over. So the streamer's curse works both ways. Sometimes when I am getting an error and and then I try to replicate the error, it it doesn't work. And then sometimes when I get something to work off stream and then I jump on stream to do it, it all of a sudden wants to work. Now this is an issue that I've been running into, is for some reason the jump mechanic breaks when I equip certain animation sets. But I think that I can fix that. Because if I hop into my animations and my I think I used this guy. Um standing walk forward. Yes, I did not bake the vertical or the vertical transform, the Y position into the animation, and so it tries to jump, but it's not letting it jump. That all makes sense in my head, but so then if I take the standing run back, we need to bake that in. Standing run forward, we bake that in. And now, when we hop back in, oh yeah, exactly. Ugh. There we go. Animation changes, and my jump is back to normal. Although it is kind of a weird run. I don't like it. I'm definitely going to replace that animation because it looks stupid. He's like tiptoeing. Oh boy, I'm gonna get you. But all in all, we've got our melee combo. We've got our ranged attacks, which... Oh, hey, look at that. The bow actually spawned, and we can shoot our arrows, so that's sweet. Like I said, we just need to work on disabling when a weapon is equipped, and then when it's unequipped, replacing it. But jumping works, our flying works, our altitude adjustment works, and you can actually altitude adjust while you are flying, which is pretty sweet. So that, I did not mean for that to work, but it does anyway. We can teleport, we can aim. So all in all, it is coming. He's gonna cut his legs off with that stance. Yeah, exactly. All in all, it's coming together in fits and starts, and with your all's help, helping me debug on the fly, I think I'm going to take off with that and have myself some dinner and get the weekend started. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching me struggle through editing things in Unity. I appreciate your help in optimizing and making this whole thing work. I hope you guys have a good weekend, and yeah, be good to each other. Peace.